Welcome to the TransAtlantic Entrepreneur Podcast. I am very excited to be back in New York City here at the fabulous Times Square and the even more fabulous Stéphanie Liot from the Maison de l'Occitanie. And we're going to talk about how she got to New York, helping entrepreneurs, French entrepreneurs, Occitan entrepreneurs to succeed in the U.S. market, and everything that the Maison de l'Occitanie does to help them to do that. Stéphanie, it is a real pleasure to have you on the podcast. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Christina.
All right. So just before we start, you're the project manager at La Maison de l'Occitanie, but can you tell us in a nutshell, who are you and what do you do?
Thank you. So my name is Stéphanie. I'm a project manager at La Maison de l'Occitanie. Just a little bit of background. I have a master in international affairs.
Okay, yeah.
And I've been working at Johnson & Johnson in sales and marketing for 10 years.
Okay, right. And so how did you go from working Johnson & Johnson, that was in Paris, right?
Yes.
So how did you go from working at Johnson & Johnson in Paris to now being project manager at La Maison de l'Occitanie here in New York?
Yes, so let's make it short. So basically back in, March 2015, 10 years back.
Yeah.
I'm in Paris. I'm a busy mom of an 8-month-old baby. I've been working at Johnson & Johnson for 10 years. And my husband is, keeping on the table the idea of, living abroad.
Yeah.
I was not ready before. So I was like, maybe it's the right time. Maybe it's the right time. And so he got an interview.
Yeah.
He got the job. 1 week later, he was in New York.
Oh, right. Okay,
so
wow.
I stayed 4 months alone in Paris.
Yeah.
And, I was still very involved in my job. It was May, June, I remember. So it's business plan, period of time.
Yeah.
So I was very involved at Johnson & Johnson. And then, boom, the summer came. And, I didn't prep very much.
Right, yeah.
And I said it, I remember, to my parents, especially to my sister, to my family, to my friends. Oh, and by the way, we are moving to New York. So
just like, by the way.
Yeah, by the way, as we say in French, between the salt and the pepper, just like that.
Right.
And I think it was, wrong at that time.
Yeah.
I was a bit in denial.
Sure, okay.
I was not really overthinking of it. Just I speak English. I speak Wall Street English.
Yeah.
That's going to be fine.
Right.
I'm going to be fine.
Yeah.
I've been working at Johnson with a very strong American culture.
Right.
I'm going to be ready. I'm just going to, find some, they
get there and figure it out when you get there.
Exactly. Yeah. But, so I didn't read any, Facebook community posts.
Sure, yeah.
I didn't read any blog. I didn't know,
Yeah.
what is...
You're just like, I'll go and I'll see.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the central, question is, how is life in New York? And I didn't have any, any
clue?
Exactly. Any clue.
Right. Wow.
So there was, something, and I can, my pieces of advice, if you want to, traveling and, come and settle in New York, is a little bit of prep.
A little bit of preparation.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Sure.
Just to be ready.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. No, it's
Not too much.
Okay. So don't over prepare.
Don't over prepare. Otherwise, you just don't come.
Okay.
There's many challenges in New York City at the beginning, and then
Sure. Yeah. No, I can imagine it's it's like Americans who dream of living in Paris. Yes, there's Emily in Paris and the dream, and then there's the reality, and there's a little bit of dream in there, but it's not all fabulous and dreamy and, perfect. Exactly. So, what is it like, living and working in a city that everyone knows that I feel like it has a little bit of that American dream spice on New York City. It's famous for business opportunities, things like that. But what is it like really?
So pros and cons. You definitely have a lot of opportunities here.
Yeah.
Much different than in France, because you're hired for who you are, really,
your
personality.
Right.
The question is there a good fit? Does she have the skills, you know? So that's how, I've ended. My first job in New York City, and I love saying that.
Yeah.
I was office manager for one of the most beautiful art gallery in the heart of Soho, so Green Street.
Yeah.
In the middle of nowhere. So, and it's because I was, a French speaker. So I could just, use my French and, start doing, a lot of different projects. Same thing for my second big job in New York City. I ended up being a general manager for 3 cafes in New York, managing 45 people.
Okay.
Same thing, it's just because we had a good fit.
Yeah.
The discussion was very interesting.
Right.
We think that, I had the skills.
Yeah.
So just go for it.
Yeah.
That would have not been the case. You cannot just go, working outside of your industry.
Right.
Or it's because you got a new diploma or,
right.
It's
Yeah.
reconversion, right? So, cons, high competition in New York City.
Okay, sure.
You come, you're no one. You have a few networks.
Yeah, right.
So you don't know, but you still have network.
Yeah.
Your neighbor, your doorman, people at the daycare, parents of, the child of the parents at the school.
Yeah.
It's just people you know.
Okay.
They know you. You can pitch the taxi driver.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody can be, a good connection.
Exactly, yeah.
The cons are really, high competition once again. New York is, full of opportunities, but full of brilliant people.
Right, yeah.
So you get to, sort out of it.
Yeah.
And you also need to get the codes. How do I navigate?
Right, yeah.
The networking, for instance.
Yes, sure, yeah.
That's something, I've never experienced before.
Right.
I used to work at Johnson & Johnson.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to work with me. So I have never attended, any networking event before coming to New York.
Okay.
And here, network is a big thing.
Right,
Because
exactly.
it's all about who you know actually in New York.
Yeah, it's not what you know, it's who you know, as they say, right? So no, that's very interesting. And just to go back, so what you said, that was really interesting. Like you were working in Johnson & Johnson, you came over to New York, then you were managing a gallery, and then you were managing cafes, and now you're managing the Maison de l'Occitanie, which we're going to talk about. But yeah, like you said, I feel like it's a lot easier here than maybe what we see in France to really just kind of flip between industries and things like that, because it's not your industry knowledge necessarily that's the most important. It's maybe, like, if we could say, the soft skills, your personality, your ability to adapt and to learn and to fit into that job. But the job skills, I mean, unless you're doing like surgery or something, the job skills you're going to learn on the job, in fact. Okay.
Absolutely.
Very interesting.
And this is where, very often we say that we come to New York and we reinvent ourselves. And I do think it's so true. It's, what I've been working on my resume.
Yeah.
So imagine 10 years at Johnson & Johnson, I did move 3 jobs. I had 3 different jobs. But I didn't really, did my resume over there. So
right, sure.
it's just, so it was a therapy.
Yeah.
In a way that, who I am, what do I know?
Right.
It was so frightening at the beginning. But
Yeah.
here in New York, you're step by step. Once again, it's not coming this way, but it's step by step. You get this confidence, because people are happy about, your skills and your personality, and they trust you.
Yeah.
And these, fulfill you.
Okay, yeah, exactly. I'm going to take this opportunity to place a reference to a musical because I love musicals, and we're on Broadway, and I'm going to see a musical right after this podcast, which is, the musical Hamilton. And at the beginning, and they're singing, in New York, you can be a new man. So it's, or a new woman. Yeah. But yeah, I feel like that's it. You can come and maybe that's also particular, I mean, to the U.S. in general. Doesn't matter what you are doing in France, you can come over here and you can reinvent who you are and who you want to be and what you want to do. And nobody's going to be like, wait, and like, I'm a personal example. My sister, who studied international business, became a nurse, then a belly dancer, and is now an accountant. And nobody finds that strange,
But talk to the taxi drivers.
Yeah.
They have amazing lives.
Yeah,
right. They are really very interesting people to talk with. New York City,
okay, yeah.
Everywhere in the US. Yes.
Yeah.
And I remember also this mom, she had her second baby, and she said, oh, now, I'm going to quit finance. It's going to be too much for me. And, I have a white page to fill in.
Yeah.
I was like, wow. I mean,
Yeah.
for me, it was very overwhelming. I was like, But, that's the way they also here, just not being an immigrant, but being, a New Yorker and, just American, you just, reinvent yourself.
Yeah.
Because actually the culture here is you have the capacity, and if you open a book, you can get the knowledge to, just turn your life into, something else.
Right. Yeah. And it's very interesting. You said I was visiting the New York Public Library, and you go in and they have this on the floor, a very beautiful, like, tile, let's say it's a big square, and it says that, this is dedicated to, and I can't remember the guy's name, an immigrant who had no money. He's, I think, from Lithuania, but I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. And it says dedicated to this person who was an immigrant who came here with no money, but came to this library every day to learn things, and then went on to start a business and gave a lot of money back to the library. And I was like, oh wow, yeah. Took a picture of my feet on it, and I'll put it in the show notes that go with this podcast. But yeah, no, very interesting. And so for you as a French person, what does it symbolize or signify or just mean to be here and to be doing it, let's say?
First of all, I would say that you have to get the right pace. New York City, everything is very fast. Things are moving quickly in general in America, but in New York City, it's quicker.
Yeah, right.
You have to adjust. You have to just feel it a bit. Where the winds come from.
Right.
So that is very important, and the rhythm and the way you are interacting with people, the way you are responding, the way you are answering questions, or just I don't know, making connection with people has to be very quick.
Okay, right. Yes. Yeah. And I get the feeling as well, just from the people that I've met who live here, and sometimes French and sometimes they're American. I feel like, if they've adopted this New York culture, let's say, because it is very different from the rest of the US, I feel like that they're very open, and it's very much like you were mentioning networking earlier, that it's everybody's kind of looking for these opportunities to get something, but also to help each other as well. And I find that is something, I don't want to generalize and stereotype, but I do feel that it is more open than what I've seen, for example, maybe in Paris or other places in France. I don't know what's your opinion on that, but
compared to France.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
I thought that you would say compared to, I don't know, Mississippi.
Mississippi. Yeah, that's a whole other story, but right.
Definitely very, very open. My perception on that is that New Yorkers are so nice. You say that to someone out, to an American outside of New York, they would say, "What? They are very aggressive." But
you say that to someone from Mississippi, which the nickname is the hospitality state, and they're like, New Yorkers are the worst people ever, and I'm like, no, they're not. They're nice. They're so friendly.
I know, right? It's like talking to Midwest people.
Yeah,
so, it's the nicest person in America.
Yeah,
but I do feel that yes, everybody's in a rush. But many people takes time actually to help you.
Yeah.
They are not the right person, but they know someone that can help you. They will put you in connection with the person.
Okay.
They will do that.
Yeah.
If you ask for a coffee, they would say yes. They don't know you.
Yeah.
You have an idea, you can, say it. They're going to give you a bit of feedback.
Right.
They're going to, once again, give you, a few connections.
Yeah.
Right away.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, also the way that I do think that I live in New York City for 10 years. New Yorkers are very, very polite. The way they talk, the way they interact with each other.
Yeah.
Within, obviously, maybe not in the street, but inside, a networking event, they're very professional. They really want to help, and that makes everything easy.
Yeah.
Starting point, people are nice and they want to help.
Yeah.
What else?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I'm here for a short week, let's say, and before I just reached out to people and say, hey, I'm going to be in New York. Can we meet? I've got like 4 days of nonstop meetings and things like that, because people are like, yeah, let's grab a coffee. Yeah, let's meet up. Let's, whatever. And I feel like that, like you said, it just makes things a lot easier because you're not constantly, it's not like an uphill battle, let's say. Yeah. So I feel like that is something that maybe, there's that stereotype that New Yorkers are rude, but I feel like, maybe in the street because everybody's in a hurry and there's tons of people. But if you're in networking events, if you're in business circles, if you're working with these people, I mean, they're very open to helping.
And what is interesting is that you don't lose your time. You don't waste your time.
Yeah.
It's just, they're not going to connect you with someone random, that it's not that, it's, they're really helping you. Otherwise they, there is no interest between us, no synergy. We don't see that.
Yeah.
Boom, just.
And I feel like it's okay to say that as well. It's kind of like that's part of the game.
Because same thing. It's a matter of time. We don't have time, both of us, to, just lose time on, on a topic where there is a discussion, endless discussion where we don't see any synergy.
Yeah.
So just, okay, so.
Just like accept it and be like, hey, okay, we got it. We met, we had coffee.
And we see that. I mean, networking, you can, have a glass, you're talking to someone and then they just turn around and they just go away and that's it.
And that's part of the game.
Exactly. You're not losing your time.
Yeah, right.
They're not wasting your time.
Exactly.
So that's perfect.
So let's just both accept that if we don't see any kind of use for us to continue this conversation, that we can end it, and that's totally fine.
Absolutely. It's not about friendship, it's just business,
Exactly. Yeah, no. And I personally appreciate that. I find it's just very efficient. Yeah, right. Okay, so let's talk a little bit now about La Maison de l'Occitanie. Yes. First of all, what is it? What is the mission? Why does it exist?
Yeah. So La Maison de l'Occitanie, it's a very unique concept because we are the only French region which has a maison. So La Maison is an office.
Okay.
It's a 250 square meter.
Okay.
I still don't count it
in square feet. No. I don't know what that is in square feet either.
So it's a large office where we can have, events.
Okay.
We have a capacity of 70 to 80 person in an event.
Yeah.
We also have offices. So entrepreneurs from the region can come work at La Maison.
Right.
They can also, organize meetings.
Yeah.
They can meet prospects, clients. They can do a conference. They can do a talk. They can do whatever they want. And they have, they also have the office. But La Maison is really, the core mission of La Maison is really to facilitate, entrepreneurs from this region.
Yeah.
To better understand, the market.
Okay, right.
To better understand how to navigate.
Yeah.
To be, connected to the right person or to be aware of the right resources.
Right, yeah. Okay.
So that's our job at La Maison.
Okay, no, and I feel like it's a very useful mission because if you're like you said, you want to come to New York, you don't know anybody, you don't know how it works.
Yes.
You don't know, you want to organize an event, but everything is really expensive. You don't know who to contact. You don't even know where to start, basically.
Absolutely.
It's like, I imagine I don't know how, like, I was going to say, I imagine it's as simple as someone contacting you to discuss it, but how do they, if they wanted to know more or to see how you could help them, like, how do they go about getting in contact with you?
They can simply, honestly, contact us through LinkedIn or, by email.
Yeah.
And just... So it depends. You have 3 stages. First, you're just looking at the market.
Okay.
I call them the curious people.
Yeah.
They are looking, at, external growth. They're obviously very, very, very quickly they come to the US.
Yeah.
And so we're talking to see exactly if there is attraction, where they are.
Yeah.
So I give them tips and also the first few contacts.
Okay.
For them to, complete their survey, the market survey,
right,
to better understand the market. The second phase is, there is, they do business with the US.
Sure.
They want to accelerate. So very often they do show trade. So this is where we can help to prep, their show trade.
Right, yes.
The third stage is they are doing as much business as they want to settle in the US.
Right.
So we are sharing their, any service provider, they will be, helpful for that, lawyers, accountants, tax, legal, whatever. And that could be very specialized. Oh, Stephanie, I'd like, someone very specialized in tech for PR.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm giving 3 names.
Right.
I want, I'm looking for a place to do this or that. Well, first La Maison. Otherwise, I can, give them, a few tips.
Right.
So it's calls, and it could be also program.
Yeah.
Or even learning expedition.
Okay. Yeah.
So I think that's a very interesting mission that we are organizing. Learning expedition, 4 days,
Right.
3 events,
Yeah.
a pitch night.
Okay.
They're gonna, we connect them to the right person, to the right resources.
Yeah.
Because we know their needs and we adapt and adjust the program for them.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And so that's what you guys at La Maison you do. You're the project manager there. So how do you work with these entrepreneurs or with these companies? Like, what exactly is your role, and what do you do exactly?
The first thing about the US, my biggest recommendation is not a big thing. It's just prep.
Okay.
Preparation.
Right.
So they need to be ready at their own stage.
Okay. Yeah.
So I share with them a lot of information, a lot of contacts.
Yeah.
Because I think, and I very often use this quote about Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah.
Abe.
Old Abe.
Exactly.
Right.
Old Abe.
Yeah.
He said, if you want me to cut down a tree in 6 hours, I'm going to spend those first 4 hours sharpening the axe.
Yeah.
And this is what we do at La Maison. We really sharpen the axe for them to be ready.
Right.
Once again, in their own stage.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Nice. Yeah. And I feel like that is, and I mean, we've seen this as well. People will contact us and be like, yeah, we want to go into the US. That's where our market is. And they're really excited. And we get on a call with them and I'm like, all right, tell me about your product. Well, we haven't really gotten a product yet. I'm like, okay, right. So, there's stages that you have to go through, and it's great that, at the La Maison de l'Occitanie, they've got the resources and the people that are there to help them through each one of those stages when it's the right time.
Absolutely.
Because I think going into the US market, it is something that, yes, it does take time, but you don't want to procrastinate because you don't know where to start and you don't know how to find the information or the resources that you need. But at the same time, you don't want to rush it because that's where you make big, expensive mistakes that can really hurt your business. Right. Yeah. So, okay. Yeah. So from what you've seen, working, with these entrepreneurs for 10 years now, what do you feel like are the things that can make or break a project?
Yeah. For me, I think it's definitely the deep understanding of the market.
Okay, right.
And of the end user.
Okay, yeah.
It's definitely, and very often I don't feel they're really deeply understanding, his behavior, what is, the way of his influence.
Right.
His emotion, the problem they're solving.
Right.
And you could feel it very quickly with the wording they're using, the claim, the signature tagline, you name it, but it's also coming to the pitch. So you feel that they work on their pitch, meaning that they know who is the target, what are the needs,
right?
And you feel it right away. So that definitely can accelerate the project.
Okay, yeah.
And can also break it in a way.
Okay, yeah. Like maybe if they've done all that work and they've prepared their pitch, but they haven't done the work of adapting it and changing it and maybe reworking it to suit the American market, let's say.
Absolutely. What is important is really you have to adjust. You can just not translate your pitch.
Right. Yeah.
You have to definitely adjust. And for that, you have to get a deep understanding, meaning you have to talk with people.
You got to talk to people, yeah.
You got to get out of here, you have to go on, you get a pass on a visitor, any show trade.
Yeah.
And you talk to people.
Yeah, right.
You pitch, you pitch, and then you hear what are the feedback. I mean, negative feedbacks are hard to be given.
Sure.
But you hear what they say, what they are thinking of right away. You know, the first thought, the first impression, the people they want to connect you with.
Yeah.
means, that could be this way or that way.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you have to discuss to really dig deeply into the understanding of,
Right.
the market.
Yeah. No, yeah, I agree. And there's an expression, it's like the journey of an entrepreneur, it's the journey of 1,000 pitches, because you've got to get out there. And earlier you mentioned like, talk to the taxi driver or the parents at the school where you drop off your kids or anybody. And those are really great opportunities. I feel like often when we talk about pitch, we think about somebody, with a deck and they're up on a stage or something like that. But I tell people, and I'm doing a workshop on this later on the conversational pitch. Like every conversation can become an opportunity to pitch. Doesn't mean you're like trying to hard sell them on something, but you're getting that practice of explaining what you do and those right words and seeing what makes people go just kind of like, oh, that's interesting, versus like, oh, wow, that's really neat. I have somebody that maybe I could connect you with. And I feel like, you've got to talk to people, get out there and
Definitely. And I also do think that because I have been, exposed to so many pitches.
Yeah, right. I'm sure you've seen tons.
Yeah.
Right.
And, I pitch my companies.
Sure.
Because when I'm in a networking event, I'm like, oh, this guy could be useful for that company.
Yeah, right.
So I'm the one also pitching. Okay. Yeah. And a good pitch is also, is also good when other people can pitch it quick and easily.
Yeah.
So as you said, the wording, yes, keywords.
Yes.
So in my head, I have my startups and I have, my keywords.
Yeah.
So I know how to connect them with, the right person.
Yeah.
The right service provider, the right, I don't know.
Yeah.
Person in
it's just like you hear these things and like it's like connection sparks go off in your brain and you're like, all right, contact. Yeah.
And this can be efficient as long as, the pitch is
clear.
Yes, clear.
Right, and easy to understand and memorable and all that. And so with all of, you said you've seen a lot of pitches. Are you able, and maybe yes and maybe no, but are you able to tell pretty early on, when a company comes to you and they pitch and they explain what they're doing, are you able to see who has a good chance of succeeding versus who is going to really struggle in the American market?
Yes and no, but I'm in my 4th year.
Yeah.
So 3 full years, it's a little bit short to see them accelerate or coming to the US.
Right.
I have a few examples
that
I met. For instance,
I
joined La Maison in October.
Okay.
My first mission was CES.
Okay,
so big thing.
Yeah.
CES in Jan. I met this company, Odaptos, startups in UX design. And today, they have their official office in La Maison.
Oh, right.
So
wow.
3 years, 3 years after.
Right.
So it takes time.
It takes time. Okay,
so coming back to your question, am I able to, I would say, back to what I was saying before about the deep understanding. You feel that they are a bit, away from the consumer or far away from understanding the needs.
Got it.
You feel that very quickly. Otherwise, you're like, okay, that's interesting. They click.
They're getting it.
They're getting it. They have the wording. They have the attitude. Because attitude also is very important, and sometimes they just don't have the attitude.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, exactly.
And that is also something that you just don't know. Coming from France, you just don't know what to expect.
Sure.
This really, positive attitude, and also, non-verbally.
Yeah.
And that is also very interesting. In France, we speak very slowly. Not very slowly, very quickly, but very.
Low,
very low. Yeah, exactly. The voice is very low. We have the same tone. So we have to be, a
little more exuberant.
Exactly.
Yeah, a little more American, if we could,
because that's the way of, telling a nice story.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's how you're going to get people to listen to you as well. So, you've got to put I would say probably for a lot of people, they feel like they're exaggerating too much, and they're like trying to be American, but you're like, no, that's what you have to do.
Yes.
Because if you're toning it down and you're speaking quietly, people are like they're just gonna tune out. I feel like, right.
Absolutely. Varies of tones,
Yeah.
very, very important.
Yeah, no, yeah, totally. So kind of wrapping it up, is there any big piece of advice or anything that we haven't mentioned yet that you would give to companies who are, looking to explore maybe the US market in general, but maybe very specifically the market here in New York?
So we did mention it, but we didn't put a word on it.
Yeah.
I would say start with culture.
Okay. Yeah, right.
Especially coming from France, there are lots of
Yes.
culture gaps.
Right.
Lots of them,
Yeah.
but we don't see them.
And I might
Because
say,
we think we know, but we don't know.
there you go. I was going to say
Yes.
that is often probably one of the most underestimated
Absolutely.
aspects.
Absolutely.
Everybody knows I have to get my legal stuff. I got to get my accounting stuff. Culture, yeah, well, whatever. It's not so different. It's kind of like us in English, and maybe they make decisions faster, but
Culture is a big chunk. It's a big chunk, and you feel it at every stage.
Right.
Communication, behaviors, meetings,
Right.
everywhere.
Yeah.
We say culture is strategy. Yes,
Yeah.
because if you don't have the code, you don't have, you are not.
Yeah, it's
Going
like
to
you're trying to
execute the right
play.
strategy.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like you're trying to play. I don't know, American football with the rules of soccer, and it just doesn't work.
Exactly. And so my first advice would be, because culture is also about experience.
Yeah.
So you have to feel it, you have to come to New York or everywhere in
Yeah.
the US, and you have to immerse yourself.
Right.
So it could be in a learning expedition, or it could be, doing a show trade. You feel it. But before that,
Yeah.
you can read books.
Yeah,
And
sure.
I know we share
Right.
the love for
The
famous,
culture map.
Exactly,
Right.
the culture map.
Right.
I think you speak about that
Yeah.
in every podcast. But
Yeah.
for me, it was there is a before and a after
Yeah.
this book, definitely. I've been living in New York for 8 years when I read this book, and I was like, oh my gosh, if I would have read it
Yeah.
on my first year,
Yeah.
that would have been giving me a lot of tips and so many answers,
Yeah.
because culture is not tangible.
Right.
So you
Yeah.
cannot, really, it's just something awkward happening.
Yeah.
You have a beautiful English. You understand
Yeah.
every single word.
Right.
But you just
You don't get the
sense of
stuff behind it.
exactly
Yeah,
the stuff
right.
behind it. So culture is a big thing. So
Yeah.
start with culture, immerse yourself, read this book
Yeah.
before coming.
Yeah.
And then call me.
Right, there
if
you
you're
go.
from Occitanie, just,
Yeah.
call me. I would be very happy to answer your question.
Okay, awesome. And I think that is a great place to wrap it all up. So thank you very much, Stéphanie. La Maison de l'Occitanie, it's like right here on Times Square.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like right over there. Like
5
literally,
minutes.
Like 5 minutes away. Fabulous location, fabulous people and resources and support. And of course, we'll put all of the information so that people can contact you and talk with you about their project for coming over, and so that we can help these French entrepreneurs come over and succeed in the US market, because that's just what we're all about. So thank you very much for coming to the podcast.
Thank you, Christina. Thank you for the opportunity. It's great.
My pleasure.
Thank you.